Hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker. Today what we're going to be doing is changing the fork seals and fork oil on the 2007 Yamaha Fazer I used to own. It's since been sold to a friend of mine, but as part of the sale I'm going to change them. Yes, the bike will be washed before it's handed over to him. I know it's dirty, but that's not why you're here, is it? So what you will need for this is some fork oil. Pretty simple. I'm putting 10 weight medium fork oil into the forks this time. Liquid moly. I don't really have any particular preference. I'm just using liquid moly this time. I also have the bushings and the backup bushes as well. The copper bushes, sliders, I don't know what they're called, and the backup rings as well. I would also highly recommend getting yourself some red rubber grease. I bought this tin quite a while back and it's never going to run out in the history of humankind. It just helps. Another optional is fork seal drivers. You don't need them. You can also use a piece of PVC pipe. Measuring jug. You can do it by the depth thing, in which case you can use what are they called? The thing with the measuring, with the thing. Yeah, you know the thing. Vernier calipers. Yeah, calipers. You could do it that way, but I prefer you just using a measuring jug because it's less hassle. And you'll also need a 19mm Allen key in order to remove the front wheel of the Fazer. Now, obviously, if you're just following this along from another bike's perspective, you don't need this. You just need to get off your front wheel. But for the Fazer, you need this special tool. And other than that, you just need assorted Allen keys and tools and stuff like that. So, first and foremost, what you're going to want to do is take off the brake calipers and hang them somewhere safe. You're also going to want to take them off this clip entirely because this is attached to, you know, your fender and stuff. So all of this needs to come off. Caliper, wheel needs to come out, and also you need to take off the fender in order to get the fork stanchion out of the bike. So we'll get to that first. We'll just take out the wheel, take off the caliper. I'm going to show you this side, and then I'll obviously just imagine copy and paste the other side. So what you'll need for the caliper bolts is a 12 spanner. I've also propped the bike up on the center stand with something just in order to keep the front wheel off the ground and make my life easier. You don't have to do this, but it does make things easier in the long run. And also pop this out of the holder. There's two little push pins on the back, like that. So once you have the caliper off, just mind your wheel taking this off. It's quite a tight fit, like so. What I would recommend doing is just cable tying your caliper around the light here, something. Just cable tie it on somewhere so it's not hanging on. So it's not hanging on the line itself. You can always cut the cable tie later, and that's one side dealt with. So now I'm just going to take off the caliper off the other side. So next, what you want to do in order to get off the wheel is using a 6mm. Is it 6mm? Yeah, 6mm Allen key. Loosen the pinch bolt on this side here. Never use your rounded side or your ball joint side of your Allen to loosen the pinch bolt. Once it's loose, you can go again, but that's one way to strip the bolt. If you try loosen it with this side, always use the square side to actually loosen it. So then you want to just open this bolt with your 19, and this comes all the way out. When you take out your wheel, a couple of important things. Make sure you don't lose these caps either side. Very important for later. And usually I would say screw this back between the stanchions, but obviously today we can't do that, so just put it somewhere safe. Next, what you want to do is remove this bolt here, and there's also another one just in here, either side, and then the fender should come out. So we're going to do that now and remove the fender. So what you need is a 5mm Allen for the smaller fella here, and that just comes straight out. On this side, what you actually want is a big square drive screwdriver, but I don't have one, So I'm just making do with what I do have. What I recommend once you get to this point is loosen off these top caps here. Just slightly, just crack them before you remove your stanchions. And once you have these cracked, all you need to do is, there's a single bolt down there facing out. I'll try to find it for you. So, just up there, right there, you need to loosen that one. And then you want to loosen this one. And then the stanchion will slide down and out. Down and out. Simple. Some people say you need to remove this in order to do this. I've actually done this bike before, so you might have to do that in order to get at these. I'm going to hopefully not have to remove the handlebars, but time will tell. So the only thing is, if you don't have a spanner the correct size, you will end up having to remove the handlebars. But if you can get a 24mm spanner, it'll save you a lot of hassle. So there's that one cracked. I'm going to do the other side, and then we can release the two fork legs. And even if you're going to do this job, I would highly recommend going away and just buying a spanner for that purpose, because otherwise you're removing your handlebars, and then you have to mark your handlebars and make sure they go back in at the right place and all. So it's just easier to just go buy a 24mm spanner, because I tighten them back up when they go in there as well. So it's just easier all round if you have the spanner for yourself. So next, this top one is a 6mm. I believe it's a 6mm. Hold on, I'll check. 6mm, yeah, 6mm. And remember, these are pinch bolts, so you don't want to loosen them too much, just a little bit so it can slide out. Now, before we go too much further, you also want to snip. So I don't know, can you see this here, but I have some cable ties on here just holding stuff in place. You want to clip them off and just be able to replace them later when you need to. So the next bolt up high is an 8mm. There you go. There is one stanchion out. So now that we have this out, there's two things we need to do. We need to empty it, but before we empty it, what we want to do is get into this bolt in here, which you might need a long reach Allen for, which can be difficult. I'm going to see, do I actually have one? And once you have that loosened, just crack it. Don't take it the whole way out. Once that's cracked, what we're going to do is empty the fluid by opening this cap carefully, because it can have a tendency to spring. Release all the fluid into a drain bolt or whatever else, and I'm going to clean this as well. It's a bit dirty. It's not too bad, it's a bit dirty. There's no pitting or anything on the actual useful area, and I'll explain that in a sec. Once this is emptied, we may have to put back in the spring and screw it down again to remove that lower bolt completely, but we'll come to that. We'll do that if we come to it, if we need to, but hopefully we won't. So also what you want to do is inspect this surface here. And what you're looking for here is just any pitting or scratches or anything like that. Now this looks really good, looks really clean, and that's because this bike was in constant use up until very, very recently. So up here is just, water stains, stuff like that. This is coming off just with my finger, okay? So nothing serious up here, but it's also, this isn't the useful area that the fork is being used on. It's this part here that you want to look for. So any stone chips, anything like that, that's what you're looking for. Another important thing to do is, before we put on our new seals, to clean this entirely, because your new seals are sliding down over this stanchion in its entirety. So if you have any dirt or scratches or anything here, it's going to pick it up. So before I do anything, I'm going to give this a quick clean off camera, and then we'll come back to loosen that lower bolt. So what I have here is an 8mm impact driver piece. This bolt down here is 8mm. Now, you can do this the hard way, which is to get, you want to put this in a vise, and you can open this by hand, which I could do, but I'm going to try an impact driver, because when I did the Magna, and you can go back and look at the fork update on the Magna if you like, I did this the hard way. I put it in the vise and I opened it. But if this works, it's a nice bit easier. If you have access to a impact driver and an 8mm impact driver piece, use it. That is now that piece loosened. So what we're going to do next is go on and open the top cap and drain the oil. So when you're opening the top cap, have a rag for yourself, because it's gonna it's not that it's gonna, it can spring open, which you just don't want. So have it in your basin, your 24mm piece on, and just screw it open. Hold your stanchion up as high as you can. Keep a push down on it, just in case it springs. Keep pressure on it. It always scares the shit out of me. Oh, that was okay. Now I look ridiculous. So now you want to just upend this. Everything's going to fall out. Spring, spacer, washer. So there's your spacer. Top washer. I'll do all that in a second. There's actually very little oil in this, which is concerning. And then to release the oil, what you want to do is just, there we go, there's the oil. You want to stroke your fork leg. So once you're happy, pretty much all of your fluid is out, which might take a while. You don't have to get it all out though, because you're going to be popping it open in a second anyway. Next, it's important, right? Remember how these came out. So you had your spacer, your spring with the tighter coils towards the top. That just means the spring is slightly progressive. It's slightly progressive. You can see it's not really progressive. And what I'm going to do now is pop these out onto a piece of paper to clean them. Before I clean them, what you want to really check is, can you get out that lower screw without putting back in the spring? So it sounds like it's spinning out. So what we have to do now is put everything back in, unfortunately. So spring, backup washer, spacer. And we're just going to have to lightly put back on the top cap. So you don't have to do too much with that, just get the top cap back on. And once you have the top cap back on, it should give you enough tension if you hold it. That's still spinning out the inside, so we're going to try this. That is still spinning out. So we're going to tighten this down more. That is now fully tight. What I might do is put some pressure downwards on this to get more pressure up against it, and then loosen it if I can. So that worked. We now have that bolt loosened entirely. Copper washer. Remember that, you're going to have to take out that copper washer again. And now to take back off the top cap. So next what you want to do is pop out your seal, which is destroyed in my case, without damaging your actual fork if you can. But this one's pretty bad. Slowly just work it out. Again, you want to be gentle with this, you don't want to damage your stanchion. So next there's a little snap ring in here somewhere. This is the greatest dickhead of a snap ring I've ever had to deal with. Okay, so I had to go get a little pick tool to get out that snap ring because it was a pain in the ass of a snap ring. But it's out now. So once you get to this point and you have your snap ring out, your lower bolt out, and all that stuff done, you just grab this and hammer action out the actual seal itself. And there you go. The seal is out. So you see now why it's important to have cloths. So next what you want to do is just clean out the inside of the lower as best you can. I usually just spray some cleaner degreaser in there and, you know, let it kind of wash it out and let it dry off. And then you kind of want to break all this stuff off. So first you're going to take off your seal, and what you have here is your seal, and underneath that the backup ring, the backup washer. So there we go, they're off. And then you also have your bush, which I also have new ones of. So again, take it off and line it up. So what you end up with is spacer, washer, dust seal, spring, retainer, actual seal itself, backup washer, and then your bush. That's how they're orientated and that's how they're arranged. So next what we want to do is just clean this up, and then we're going to put back on the old stuff. This actually looks like it could do it being changed, but I don't think I have the inner ones. I think I only bought the outer ones, so we'll just have to make do with that this time round, which is a pity. But we also have our backup washer, so brand new ones there. So we're putting on new bushes, new washers, and new seals. So you're retaining your spring, your top washer, and your spacer. And we're also going to be changing this lower copper crush washer for your lower bolt. And again, this will need some Loctite, and also you just want to clean up the treads as best you can while you're doing it. So now what we're going to do is put it all back together again. First and foremost, what you want to do is get the fork placed back into the lower and secure this bolt in place with a new copper washer. Anyway, once you have your new copper washer, you want to just pop that on there, and next slide this, and then you want to slide this back into here, like so. Once that's there, you want to get your Allen. Don't worry, you won't be able to tighten that until such time as you have everything fully back together. You will have to remember to tighten it. And oh, sorry, I forgot to mention your dab of blue Loctite on there as well. So that's loosely bound now. It's as tight as I'm going to get it until everything goes back in. Next, what you want to do is start reassembling your fork and lay everything out for yourself. So your new spring, your new bush, and your new seals. Keep this plastic, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Simple as just dropping it back on. So all I've done, as I realised my camera's out of position, I put back in my bush, I put back in, so bush first, backup washer, and now using the backup washer and our seal driver, I want to just drive them in. And you'll hear the difference when they're driven home. So that should be good now. Next we want to put in place our new seal. Now this is where it gets a little bit trickier. So to put the new seal in place, you don't want to catch it over this edge up here. So this is what I was saying, to keep the plastic, okay? Open this slightly, and this is a trick I learned from Ari Henning. So good man Ari. And what we're going to do is coat our new seal in red rubber grease. You don't need to be gentle here, you can put on loads. And do both sides. All this does, and this doesn't hurt the seal at all, don't worry. All this does is make sure that it actually slides down without damaging the seal, because you could have like a little micro scratch somewhere that you don't see yourself, and that's fine, that can happen. And all this does is make sure that that does not damage your seal. It'll also help you drive it into place because it's a nice lubricant. Put your fork back and cover your plastic in lots and lots of red rubber grease. Like I said, this tin is cheap, it'll last forever, so just coat it, and I mean coat it in red rubber grease. Now this is something I did not want to happen. It's happened to me before though. So just get that plastic out. And it's fine because we have another bag for the other side. Just make sure you do get all the plastic out if it tears like that. You don't want any of that inside in your seal. So next, get your seal kind of sat as well as you can with your fingers, and next we're going to go back to our seal driver. That actually stands up on its own. Terrifying. Don't trust it. And what I like to do is use my old backup washer and actually put that down on top, because all it does is balances out the force around the seal a little bit better. I'm always very nervous of damaging the seal. What you want to do here then is drive the seal until you can get your spring clip back in place. I forgot to show you there, I hammered home the seal, and once you can get in your snap ring, you're good to go. So my snap ring is now in place. I'm just going to give the fork leg a quick clean off from the red rubber grease. Anyway, as I was saying, once you have your snap ring back in, which mine is, you want to just pop on your dust seal, and that should just, yeah, push into place with your finger parts. And then you should see that, like, once it's sealed, the only thing that's difficult now with this is because that thing is in the way, and I genuinely, I have no idea how to get it off. It's actually quite difficult to seat the dust seal home everywhere. Yeah. But there we go. And you want to put back in your spring, this bit to the top, this washer, and then your spacer, and all the way up. Now, before we do everything else, that's alright, just going to balance that there. Now, I got these off Ross Motorcycles. They were kind enough to fill in 465 cc's of oil, so I'll say around about there. We don't need to be exact. Well, exactly exact. I mean, if I had something to measure out exactly 465 with, I would do it, but I don't, so I won't. That is some good packing tape you had on there. Cool. Each of these is a litre anyway, so worst case you could put in, but I'm not going to. That's around about 465, 470, roughly. It is in no way exact. What I'm going to do first is just pop back in the spacer, tighten back on the cap a little bit. And the reason I'm doing this is just again that to tighten up that lower a little bit. So then you want to take back off your top cap, pull that all the way up, and then everything is sealed. Oh, bit of hair on my jug, and pour in your oil. Now make sure that you keep this pulled all the way up. It's actually not as bad as the Magna anyway. Give it a few pumps. We don't want to hear any mad air in there or anything. And then just screw back on your top cap. Yeah. I always give this one final pinch when it's actually back pinched in place in the bike. So for now, we'll call that fork leg done. So there you go. That's one fork leg done. Everything's sealed back up nicely. You can see there's a lot more resistance there than there was previously, and it just looks nicer too. You know, it's well sealed against corrosion and stuff for a good bit longer now, hopefully. So I'm pretty happy with that one. I'm going to throw it back onto the bike, and I'll show you how to kind of balance everything up then. Yeah. So apologies, I did the exact same again as I did at the Magna. I forgot to show you. But all you do is you slide this back up through here. I do up this pinch bolt first, just to tighten it up. And what you want to do is you want to just leave it below the cap, or how it was beforehand, but just below the cap. Then you want to tighten back up the bolt that's in up there, and torque them down to spec. My spec is my paws, because I never look up specs. And then what I do is I loosely put in the rest of the bolts for everything that has to go in. What I do, once they're all kind of loose, and I mean, like, you want a bit of wiggle on it, I let the axle do the rough alignment of the front, all the front, and then I pinch everything down, and that's how I do it. So that's it really. Yeah, I'll throw the wheel back on in a second. There's the Porstad Gixxer, that's to come. And yeah, that's it really. So slide them back in, pinch them up, good to go. So, and I'm aware I'm shooting the outro before it's actually back onto the bike, but anyway, if you've found this video helpful, please click the like and subscribe buttons. It really does make a difference to me. If you haven't, then, you know, don't worry about it. You don't have to click the buttons. But yeah, if you have, let me know. A special thank you as always to my patrons, your legends. It's quite late now and I stuck at this just because I have the motivation for the channel these days, and it's in a large part thanks to you guys, so thank you very much. And girl, guys and girl. And yeah, until next time, thank you very much for watching. Adios. Outro crew. This is a lot heavier now. I think there was no oil in it before, and that's entirely my fault. Oh well. Also, outro crew. Would you hand over a bike with a newly serviced forks to your friend who you sold it to? That's how I like to do it. That's why I'm doing it. Give it over in good condition. Bye.